If I do my job correctly, if I'm able to communicate right, the goal for you is to realize that you are the victim of an evil plan. You are the victim of a cynical plan. You have been, all of us have been a victim of a plan that the enemy has been working for years in our lives, in our parents' lives, and it's going from one generation to the other. And that plan is to redirect your focus. That's it. Simple. It ain't to go get you to sell drugs, right? It ain't to go get you to go rob a bank. The job of the plan of the enemy, the plan of the enemy, is to redirect your focus. Now, if you ever been to New York, okay, if you ever been to New York and you're taking the subway and you get off on Canal Street, okay, that means one thing: you're going to Chinatown, right? You're going to Chinatown because that's where on Canal Street is Chinatown. And when you get to Chinatown, I'm going to be a tour guide right now. When you get to Chinatown, as soon as you get out and you're in the corner right there, right, all of a sudden you're going to have about 4 Chinese ladies. They're going to be standing next to you. You don't even know where they come out of, right? They're going to be standing next to you. And they're going to say, Fendi, Louis Vuitton, right? Prada, and then they're going to say Rolex. They're not even going to say Rolex. They're going to say Rolex, right? They're going to say Rolex. And you're like, what? And then they go pull out a chart, and she's asking you if you want to buy any of these knockoffs, right? If you want to buy a fake person, a fake thing, right? And so Chinatown is great. We love Chinatown, huh? We love Chinatown. I say, I want to stay in Chinatown all day. But what they try to offer you is something that looks like the real thing. See, something that looks so close that y'all can come up in here and say, ooh, look what I bought. And you're walking around with a fake old purse, a fake Rolex, which I only wear in weddings. I got one, right? I got a couple. Every time I go, I buy me one. I'm on number 4 already. I keep buying them. She tells me, don't buy them, Saturday, because they break down about 2 or 3 weeks later. The steam gets them, whatever. They break down. But I keep buying them, right? But imagine having something fake and you pretending that it's real. Telling everybody that it's real, but it's really fake. Now imagine your Christian walk. Having something fake that you thought was real, and it's not. And you're walking around, or we're walking around with a fake relationship or a fake connection to God. That's what we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. So, without further ado, we're going to look at Exodus 20. Okay, and this is basically the second commandment. Okay, this is the second commandment that God gives His people, and when you're looking at the commandments, this is number 2. So guess what? It was important to God. He didn't put number 4, number 5. This one was so important to God because He knows that if we go through this, it will separate us from Him, right? And it simply says that you shall not make any idols. You must never bow down to an image or worship it in any way. So, won't you say with me, don't make, don't bow, don't worship. What is an idol, right? Everybody says it's an idol. Because the very first thing that I say, well, I try everything on Sandra D, right? I try it. And I say, well, and as soon as I say an idol, what comes to mind? A little monito, right? Somewhere, something. But an idol is a lot of things. And it could be a whole, as we're going to learn, that an idol is not just a thing we hold physically, but an idol is something that we give it value or that we hold dear. And the definition of an idol is anything, say with me, anything, that takes the focus off of God and puts it on someone else, on something else. So the definition of an idol tonight, anything, okay? That's a big word, no? That's a lot of stuff. He could at least said, any this and that, but he says anything that takes your focus off of God and puts it in something else. So I want you to think about it tonight. With this definition, what is taking your focus off of God? Because according to his definition, anything that takes your focus off of God and puts it on something else is considered an idol. right? Don't shoot the messenger, right? We're gonna look at that. But it's very true, because what God wants is to bring us in connection with him, to bring us in unity with him. And the enemy has muddied the waters, right? And he has done that. So the whole purpose is to redirect your focus. And the enemy's game plan is that you focus on anything besides God. He doesn't mind you that if you focus on your job, making money, he'll redirect focus. He doesn't mind you to focus on your kids, schools, where they're going to go to college, all this stuff. He doesn't mind if your focus goes on your husband, wife, even yourself. And that is the difficulty of us nowadays understanding that the focus, even though these things are good, they are focusing you and me away from God. They're moving our direction. And if we start looking at that, and we start looking at where we are right now, we can see that our focus has been on other things, right? So your job tonight, all right? Your job tonight is to be honest with yourself. Let's be honest tonight. God already knows your heart. God already knows where you've been last week. He knows where you were last night, right? He knows what you're thinking right now. He knows what's going on. But tonight is a time for you to be honest, because we have to be honest. We have to be able to say, you know what? I've been focusing on the wrong things. I've been focusing too much on this that is hurting me in my relationship with God. It's hurting me in my connection with God. And that's your job tonight, is to be honest with yourself. You know, is something in your life taking that focus off of God? Is something in your life taking that focus that should be with God and taking it somewhere else? Think about it. Think about this week. Was there anything that you were so focused on that you forgot to pray? You were so focused on this that you forgot to read your Bible. You forgot to come to church. The ones that didn't come, right? Because your focus was going somewhere else. Your focus was redirected to another way. And that's exactly what the enemy wants to do. He wants to redirect your focus. That is his key. That is the sinister plan that I'm calling it, right? So what happens when we idolize something? When we make something an idol, what happens in our lives? Why can't we have idols? You know, why can't we just, I want to focus on this. I want to forget about church. I want to focus on my career. I want to focus on my job. I ain't got time for church, right? What happens? Is that something that we can say? I mean, I'm pretty sure no one here would say that, but we actually do that, right? We actually do walk away from that. So what happens when we make something our idol, right? What happens when we start looking at that? An idolize means to value something more than God. Very simple. Let's not make it hard. When you make something an idol, you give it more value than God. And that's exactly why it's commandment number 2. Because what you're saying with God, or what I'm saying to God, consciously or unconsciously, God, this person, this thing is more valuable than you. When we're dealing with idols, and when we're dealing with things that are separating you from God, when you're focusing on something that is not God, something starts happening in your life. And God says this in Deuteronomy. He takes to Deuteronomy 4, and he wants to warn his people. And he comes to his people, he says, for your own good. See, God is telling us tonight that for our own good, don't sin by making an idol in any form at all. See, God is telling us that when we follow idols, Torres, Oscar, when we look at idols, or when something takes a place in my focus, God is saying for your own good, for my own good, for your own good, not to be able to follow that, whether it's conscious or unconscious. And we don't worship idols made out of stone and clay. We don't do that. We're too smart for that. But we do have idols, and we do have images of ideas. Check this out. He says we worship the idol of success. How many of you ever heard that? The idol of success, right? We worship the idol of wealth, right? Everybody wants to be wealth, and the idol of status. So in our times, we do struggle with that. But God says for your own good, don't do that. For your own good, do not make idols out of nothing. Anything that is taking the focus off of God and into something else, it's already an idol. Now, let me tell you something. If you're a mom and a dad, he puts it here. It's hard to raise kids nowadays. If you're going to be a parent, the young folks, it's hard to raise kids in an environment where the society says that the most important things in life is success, wealth, and money. Ain't that what they're telling? Ain't that why we work hard? Man, I want to be successful. I want to go to school so I can make money. I want to be wealthy. I want to be successful. But is that, Blair, at one point, redirecting your focus from God? Is it redirecting your focus from what God really wanted you to be? And what we need to do as believers is to see how cynical that is. So we're going to look at 3 reasons. I told you to get your phone out so you can open your notes and write these 3 reasons why God's saying you shouldn't have idols. Now, reason number 1 is that idols will let you down, will disappoint you. Idols will disappoint you. They always promise a whole lot of stuff and never deliver. The success always promise, man, if you do this, you're going to be successful. At the end of the day, you're depressed, whatever. It never delivers. You go chasing a career, you go chasing, at the end of the day, you get to the top of the ladder, you find out that there's no one else. It's just you by yourself. You lost your family, you lost your kids because you were chasing that idol, right? So they will disappoint you. Pastor Warren says that they will disappoint you. And it says in Jeremiah 10:14, it says, those who make idols are disillusioned by them because the gods they make are false and lifeless. So it says there, look, those who make idols, and when we start falling into the trap, the first thing we're going to be is disillusioned. You're going to put all this focus on that. You're going to be like, man, this is what I'm going to follow, but what we're going to tell you is going to let you down. You know, disillusion just simply means you're going to be disappointed in someone or something you discover. At the end of the day, you will discover that thing, whatever you've been focusing on, lets you down. How many times has it happened? A person that you put everything in them. They were there, whether it's your husband, your wife, your kids. You put so much into that relationship, and at the end of the day, they let you down. You didn't come to church. You stopped coming to church. You stopped talking to God because you wanted this relationship to work. And at the end of the day, that person let you down. That person wasn't around. Wasn't there for you. Anytime you put a person or a thing in the place of God, you're going to be disappointed. Number 2, why we shouldn't have idols. Let me see before the bell rings. All right, we're doing good. Number 2, why we shouldn't have idols. Idols will begin to dominate you. Write it on there. They will begin to dominate you. First, they will disappoint you. Now they will begin to dominate you. They will start controlling you. That's what the idols do. And here's where we are in 1 Corinthians. All right. It says, before you knew Christ, you were controlled by dead idols who always led you astray. And the key word is control and led you astray. You see, whatever it was, think about your life. Think about the thing you were chasing. And all of a sudden, it was controlling your life. If I was concentrating, if I left my focus on God and I started concentrating on my career, all of a sudden it controls everything. Oh, I can't go to church because I got to go to work, right? I can't do. It starts controlling you. Now, we're not saying those things are wrong. They're saying that that's what happens. It's a way that happens. It'll start controlling you, right? And it'll start controlling. It'll start telling you what to do, right? It'll start telling you that, hey, you're going to go my way. You know, the things we love the most and the things we put in in the place of God will begin to control our lives, whether it's your job, success, or money. It will start controlling our lives. So, you know, in our times, what we call idols in our days, Pastor Warren puts it on there, we call them addictions. Because it goes right there. What did an addiction does? It starts controlling you. Right? An addiction starts telling you what to do. It starts telling you when to go get that fix. That addiction starts telling you, whether it's an addiction to drugs or addiction to pornography, addiction to work, whatever it is, it's going to start controlling you. Ask yourself right now, what's controlling you? What is telling you what to do? Or are you telling it what to do? Is it your job? Is it your position? Is it sports? Is it social media, alcohol, drugs? All these things come into play. And the enemy, what he does, he just takes them. And he says, okay, if all I have to do to New Life English is move their focus from God to these things, they're able to go. They're able not to have a relationship with God. Now, let's go to number 3. It says idols will start to change you. Idols will change you. They'll try to control you. They'll lead you astray. Idols will change you. You will lose your uniqueness, what God made you to be. You will become more that what you're chasing. What you love, you will become. You will become more of that. Those who make idols will become like them, and so will those who trust in them. That's what Psalms 115 says. So you start becoming like them. You start being like them. You know, you start acting in that way. Whatever you put first in your life, that is what you will become. They said one time Jesus was walking around. He gives us this story, right? Jesus was walking around, and this young ruler or this young rich person comes up to Christ, right? He says, yeah, you know what? What do I need to do to get eternal life? He comes to Jesus, right? And of course, Jesus knows his heart, and he knows your heart and mine. And he goes to Jesus and said, what do I have to do, Rabbi? It looks like I got money. I have everything. What do I need to do? And Jesus says, you know what? Sell everything you have and give it to the poor and come and follow me. Guess what happened? He just frowned, put his face down, turned around and left. You know why? Because his idol was his pocketbook, was his money. He couldn't do it. He couldn't let go of that. It was so much ingrained in him that he could not let it go. And tonight Jesus is asking you to sell out something. Sell everything you got. Sell that relationship. Sell it out, right? Sell that person that's leading you astray, or that position that may lead you away from your family. He's telling you to sell that out. Give it away. Follow me. Man, you know what? That's exactly what he's saying. And maybe tonight you're following a relationship. You know it's not the right one, but you can't let it go. You may be chasing a career. You know it's not the right one, but you can't let it go. And you may be chasing a habit. You know you shouldn't be doing that, but you can't let it go. So at the end of the day, that idol starts changing you, is that you may think you're in control of it, but really it's in control of you.